Thank you for being with us this morning or this afternoon. The board president of the San Diego City Employees Retirement System, sometimes known as SDCERS, is with me. Mr. Herb Morgan, thank you for your service as president and your service in the past. We have several leading staff members of the SDCERS, including the executive director. Is that your title, Mark? Chief Executive Officer, and the legal counsel is here to answer any questions. So thank you for that. When I ran for mayor, I promised to bring new leadership to City Hall. And that leadership was focused on rebuilding our neighborhoods and planning for our future. And it was not about wasting money on frivolous lawsuits. So we're here today to literally demand that our city attorney, Jan Goldsmith, drop what we believe to be a frivolous lawsuit that has up to this moment wasted over $3 million, 3.2 to be exact, and has the potential of wasting even more taxpayer money that could otherwise go to the core services that we're supposed to be doing as a city. The reason behind that is that the city attorney sued the city's retirement system over a certain pension funding issue, which we will explain. And that occurred during the worst recession this country has ever seen. That is, the basis of the lawsuit was that I'll have you go over that rather than me try to do that. So we are going to have to pay the legal defense costs for this suit because we are suing SDCERS, and guess what? We fund SDCERS. So the city is literally borrowing money to sue itself, and an interest rate at 7.5%, and we pass on that bill to the taxpayers, which is now, as I said, $3.2 million and growing rapidly. Again, by suing SDCERS over a very arcane and, in fact, lost position, we are suing ourselves and borrowing money to do it. I think that's ridiculous on its face. There's a bunch of gobbledygook that the city attorney has suing over without looking at the decades of legal precedents in this matter. This case has already, if you have looked at some of what the judges have said, the case is a loser. Over the last 2 years, the city attorney, in fact, has lost on major issues, which indicates me it's not going to go anywhere. And if you read what the judges have said about the lack of merits in the case and the lack of a potential judgment, you can get that picture. We don't have libraries open to the extent we used to. We don't have our parks and beaches open the hours that we had before, and they aren't as clean as they were. Our sidewalks are crumbling. Our potholes are increasing. Our police officers and firefighters don't have state-of-the-art equipment or the amount of staff to do their job. Here we have millions of dollars being spent on defending a case that should be put to better use in our city. I'm going to let Dr. Morgan explain the legal details and the impacts of the case on our retirement system, but at the heart of the matter, in my view, is that the city attorney is misreading our city charter, which had for 70 years been interpreted in one way, and he's trying to put a new interpretation on it. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. I urge the city attorney and the city council to take swift action toward dropping this case and to do so immediately. And I would like to introduce Herb Morgan, who will speak on behalf of our retirement system. Again, Herb, thank you for your service. I know the pay is very high, and the rewards are many, but the service that you give to the city is greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Filner, Mayor Filner. My name is Herb Morgan. I'm currently the president of the Board of Administration of the San Diego City Employees Retirement System. I've been a volunteer member of that board since 2009 when I was appointed by then Mayor Jerry Sanders. I'm not a doctor, but by trade I am an investment advisor. I have more.
Doctor. You put that in my.
It is in your notes. I saw it over your shoulder. I appreciate the promotion. I'm the president of the board, but as I mentioned, by trade, I'm an investment advisor. I have 25 years of private sector investment management experience. I also happen to be a very conservative Republican. I've been an active Republican circles in the city of San Diego since my days as a young Republican in the 1980s, for more than 20 years. I voted for City Attorney Jan Goldsmith, And sorry to say, sir, I did not vote for you. Politically speaking, the mayor and I have very little in common. You might say we're strange bedfellows in this particular cause today. But the facts at stake are blatantly self-evident. It's time to put aside this partisan bickering that continues to dominate San Diego local politics and get some things done to move our city forward. As a conservative Republican, I strongly object to fiscal waste, and I believe that's happening with the city attorney's actions. I'm here today to push for an end to the substantially equal case between the city of San Diego and its pension system because the contentions asserted by the city in the case are fundamentally inconsistent with the guiding principles of pension administration. They're inconsistent with the city charter. They're inconsistent with the municipal code. And more importantly, to me, it's an abuse of taxpayer resources. On top of all that, it's a lawsuit that the city simply cannot win. At issue is a 70-year practice of interpreting the city charter one way and then conveniently attempting to interpret the city charter a different way after the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. Defined benefit plans like SDCERS allocate their gains, their losses, and their experience variances to the plan sponsor. This is how pensions work. This is a general characteristic of nearly all defined benefit plans. This lawsuit is opportunistic in its nature. It was filed conveniently after the 2008 stock market crash, and it seeks, only going forward from 2008, to split investment gains and losses with employees. This lawsuit could never exist in the private sector. A private business would not spend millions of dollars on a suit it knows it has no chance of winning. Some have asserted that this is not much more than a devious scheme to trick labor into making concessions. The public treasury is not a limitless trough. This case has become, in my words, a hollow mockery. It's burdened our court system. It's burdened the taxpayers. It's burdened the employees. It's burdened the staff at SDCERS. And I can tell you it has certainly burdened me as an unpaid volunteer. What's worse, the costs of this don't show up in anybody's budgets. It gets dumped into the bill that we send the city every year for the unfunded pension debt. So the city borrows money at 7.5% for 15 years to finance a lawsuit, and nobody wants to do anything to stop it. The costs go beyond that, however, and an SDCERS could have difficulty obtaining citizen volunteers who wish to serve on the board, who meet the 15 years professional experience requirements. We've already had a difficult time at SDCERS obtaining directors and officers insurance to cover our board members. Last year, I regretfully signed a check for $600,000 of trust fund assets to obtain insurance coverage. Pension systems of similar size would normally pay about 1/10 of that amount. This is directly related to this litigation. Last year, we also put our actuarial services contract out to bid, and we had trouble getting firms to even want to do business. Imagine a $5+ billion system. You're an actuary, and you don't want to bid on the work because your legal department won't allow it. Leadership is about knowing when something is worth fighting for, when it's time to say enough. I tried to do this very quietly, without fanfare, for about the last year. Elected leaders are put into office to make difficult decisions so the public doesn't have to, and I urge the city council to do the responsible thing, step up, lead, run the city, and drop the lawsuit. After more than 2 years of fighting, we've spent more than $3 million in legal expenses, again financed over 15 years at 7.5%. It's time to step up and do the right thing. I want to thank the mayor for reaching across party lines to support this action.
Thank you, Doctor. I thank you. You know, it's unusual that the chair of the San Diego SDCERS, first of all, and with the mayor, but going public at all, he stated that he has tried for many, many months behind the scenes to resolve this. I have joined him behind the scenes in trying to resolve this. We have tried to bring this to the council in a way that a policy judgment could be made. And the city attorney, as Mr. Morgan said, sees this as a bargaining chip in a bigger, in a struggle on the contracts. Not only is that not ethical, not only is that wasteful of monies, but it's silly because the labor unions see that we're going to lose. So how can it be a bargaining chip that they're going to drop it if we get something else in return? So it's not even a good bargaining chip, and yet the train continues to move forward, and money is racked up on behalf of the taxpayers. This has to come to an end. We've taken a very unusual step by going public on this. Usually these things are attempted to be resolved behind the scenes, but the city attorney has used the closed session protections to make sure there's no public debate on this. We need to bring this to the public's attention to show the waste of money and the frivolousness of the lawsuit. We'll be happy to take any questions, please.
If you want to defer to legal counsel on this question, you can, but I just was curious as to what the update on the status of the case is and why nobody has managed to convince a judge to throw it out, dismiss it, given that it is, as you say, frivolous and wasteful and litigious.
Well, I don't know the legal terms about getting things to throw out. I know that the city attorney filed something called a motion for judgment, and he was beaten down pretty good by the judge on that. He then filed something called a motion for summary judgment, and in a most unusual turn of events, at the last minute, after I spent many six figures in defense and preparation and witnesses and all of that, he at the last minute decided to pull it, stating he wanted to save his ammunition for the trial, which is scheduled for May 14th.
Shouldn't your ire be more direct?
And so, again, the judges have been pretty direct about this, about the lack of merit. And frankly, we have not been able to get it to the city council in a form to discuss it. The city attorney brings what he wants to the council for authority. He has not brought this. It comes up within the context of negotiations, and he keeps saying, no, we can't drop it, we can't drop it. And I think he cannot continue to hide behind that closed session privilege here without a policy discussion of the lawsuit. I think it should be in public session, frankly. This is a policy. The council could discuss this in public session, and I would ask the president of the council to docket that item.
Legally, because it's a civil case, you can press and take it to trial, and the judge can't prevent him from doing that. Is that how it works?
Where's the legal? Would you like to comment on it? If you'll identify yourself.
Elaine Reagan, General Counsel with SDCERS. I don't want to get into trial strategy or trial tactics because those are privileged issues, but I can explain to you the process, which is a judge won't dismiss a case if there's any triable issue of material fact. If the dispute involves around a conflict of facts, it would just be a waste of time to bring a motion asking the judge to dismiss it. And here you have facts dealing with interpretation of law and past history. So the judge is going to need to look at the evidence and make a determination before he will make a ruling on the case. We determined that it would probably be not cost efficient to bring a motion for summary judgment when, in this particular case, a bench trial without a jury would do the same thing. So we were trying to look at cost efficiency and not bringing it.
It's actually less expensive to let it go to a jury trial.
A bench trial.
A bench trial.
Bench trial. It would be if you're looking at the situation of bringing a motion for summary judgment, putting in evidence. If you, for some reason, were to lose that motion because there were triable issues of fact, you would have to repeat the same procedure at trial. So you would be, in essence, duplicating your efforts. So, thank you.
Mayor, what discussions, if any, have you had with the city attorney, in a setting with others, or back channel, you and he? Are you
On this issue?
on this issue?
Yeah, we have asked him to drop it, and he has said the council has not directed me to, but he's never allowed a format where we can direct it to do that. That it has not been on a closed session agenda in a manner which can be policy can be decided. And the city attorney if he says to the council, I think we have a case here, it's, it's hard to go against him in any case.
Well, I guess my question is, why is it that this can't be docketed, whether it's on a closed door session or an open session? I don't understand why you as the mayor can't get that done.
That's a good question. That's a good
it
question.
makes sense.
I agree. And I've asked, I wanted the council president to docket it, but he says it's a matter of closed session. You try to get in closed session, it goes through the city attorney, and he says it's not ripe for discussion. He has his direction. I have not been able, at this moment in my term, to figure out how to get that on the docket in a format that I think is appropriate.
And I guess my other question is...
It's a good question.
Okay.
And the city council docket is determined by the council president. The closed session docket is determined by the city attorney. The mayor directly does not have a role in those decisions.
So is this then, this press conference that we're having, is this kind of a way to shame both the gentlemen
Yes.
into doing something?
Yes. No, well, I would put it a different way.
I might call a spade a spade.
No, I agree with you. But we want the public to be aware so they could put the pressure on the council and the city attorney to take action in this matter, because they simply have refused up until this time.
I think too that if you look at the makeup of the city council, you have a lot of new members, and you have some more experienced members, and none of them have a legal background. So what they're telling me is that they find it difficult. Well, they agree with me in principle that this is frivolous, it's a waste of money, there's nothing to gain. What does the city get if it wins? They don't know how to articulate that and stand up and make the decision themselves to drop it. I think that's poor leadership, to be frank with you, and I think it's time that the city council ran the city rather than the city attorney running the city. No offense.
No, and remember, in a closed session, I don't have a vote. I'm there, I'm chairman of it, but I don't have a vote. And frankly, we're at a stage where when I make a suggestion, half the council says no, just because. So, and they don't want to, as Herb said, to challenge the city attorney. He, in fact, has talked to every member of the city council. He has explained to them, as he said, they agree with him, but they have not had the guts to take on the city attorney.
Have you also talked to every member of the city council?
On this issue, no.
If you weren't at odds with the city council before, by close of business today, where does this put you politically?
Yeah.
In terms
It's just
of
another
your
issue.
relationship with
It's just
the
another
council,
issue.
in terms of your relationship
It's just another
with
issue.
the city attorney?
No, well, look, we have to, as Mr. Morgan suggested, leadership has got to take place. There's a waste of taxpayers' money. I mean, we are trying, I'm at a stage, we're trying to balance the budget. I give my budget to the council next week. A few $1 million means a lot. And you have and so, look, when a council tells me we don't have the money to spend here, we don't have the money to spend here, we got to do this or that, and then they won't take the action to save money, I think the public should understand that. I mean, look, this is about policy issues. I can disagree or agree with the council on any given policy issue. It does not affect, personal relations or anything else. It's a matter of leadership and taking a stand. And again, these guys have tried. I can't believe their patience and they're spending so much time on this, talking to everybody. And they spent a year on this. And they have gotten nowhere in a given situation. So we agreed that this might be the only way to get some action. And, the chips have to fall where they are on those other issues. I would like to see a public discussion. It's a policy issue. You don't have to hide behind a closed session on this one. Should we continue to, in fact, and also they don't have to go into closed session on a legal decision. I mean, this is public policy. This is not attorney-client privilege stuff. This is public policy. And they could discuss this in public without any problem.
So,
They have chosen not to.
how do you reconcile the city attorney's statement yesterday in response to a query from me and others? The mayor has never chosen to discuss this case with me.
This particular one?
From The city attorney.
He's just wrong. I mean, I have asked him to stop the case. I've tried to bring it up into closed session, and the way he has chosen to bring it up is to use it as a bargaining chip. He says we cannot do this because then the unions will do this or that. I mean, he's being disingenuous, and he's being political. I mean, this is an attorney that supposedly came into office by saying, I'm not political, I'm just following the law. And yet he has a political agenda here, and he's convinced the majority of the council so far to go along with it.
But what do you think that political agenda is specifically? Because
it's anti-union. It's to force the unions to say that if this plan, he wants to force the employees to go into the new 401k plan and get out of the defined benefit, I think, is what is really behind it. And he's using this club of the law to try to do it, and yet it's not a good tactic. Even if he agreed with his aim, it's just, and it's cost us over $3 million already, and it's a foolhardy effort. People told him that when it started, and yet he's still going on. And I think the only way to deal with this is through the sunshine of the public knowledge.
Mr. Mayor, have you heard from like the police chief or the fire chief, when you talk about all this money that's being squandered here, they desperately need some of this money, obviously. You mentioned why. Are they putting pressure on you, or maybe that's the wrong term, but are they getting you saying, hey, let's get this resolved here because we could really use that cash?
Well, I mean, they wouldn't comment directly on this case, but I mean, again, we're concluding the fiscal 14 budget process. I have had before me requests from every department, including, of course, police and fire, on needs of the city, and we have not been able to meet them all. I mean, it's, we've started off with a $40 million deficit. We've had to try to close it with a variety of things. We have not increased at all or decreased at all any service levels. We're going to have a balanced budget, but $3 million here, $4 million there adds up, and frankly, I don't see. So anytime there is a waste on this or a wasteful action, you've got to try to point it out. It would go right back into cops, to firefighters, and their equipment, for example.
So right before this press conference, the city attorney put out a press release saying that on the Port Commission appointments that you should not have been able to veto that as mayor, and so he is directing the city clerk and Todd Gloria to certify the previous picks made in January. This is based on that legislative council legal opinion. I'm just curious your thoughts on that. I mean, obviously you vetoed that because you wanted a different process in place.
Well, its relevance to this particular situation is, on the one hand, by the way, what we got out of that veto was a whole new port policy and port appointment policy. But I think it shows very clearly that the infallibility claimed by the city attorney is not there. He issues a memo which says my previous opinion is vacated and depublished. Hello? So, and he claims everything he says is according to the law. So all of a sudden, he's vacating and depublishing his own opinion. What does that tell you about his infallibility? It should tell the council that, he makes mistakes, he makes wrong judgments, he has wrong conclusions, he does this thing wrong. Now he's changing his whole opinion. I only veto those things because of his opinion. He said I had the authority to veto it. Now he's saying I don't have the authority. I mean, tomorrow he'll say something else. It should tell you something about, and it should tell the council something about the poor judgment that we have here. He led us into this fight that shouldn't have happened, probably, on the port. Now he's doing this on San Diego SDCERS. He's doing this on several other cases. But you've got to at some point say, the emperor has no clothes.
Mr. Morgan, will you vote for the mayor if he runs for re-election?
Time.
We thank you for your any other questions. I appreciate.
Can you give us a quick update on the TMD issue? I mean, obviously, the council president gave you guys until Monday. He wants to docket it for next week to finalize this. You had to veto the previous thing yesterday. Are you still in negotiations with them? Is it close?
Yeah, I mean,
do you expect a deal to get done?
I don't know. We have gone back and forth over the last few days again on the indemnification policy. I think it's pretty simple that the taxpayer should not be on the hook for a nickel of potential indemnity. The city attorney, in his said that this is potentially, you've lost this case. Now, maybe he's wrong on that one too, but he says we probably lost this case. So we have to protect the taxpayers, and the hotel guys are telling me, on the one hand, it's such a small probability that we'll face anything. So why are you worried? And I said, if it's such a small probability, why are you worried? Just sign the thing. And on the other hand, they're saying it's such a big probability that we can't even get insurance to cover it. So you can't have it both ways, which they're trying to have. It's either doesn't mean anything, which they should sign it, or if it means so much, certainly they should give us protection. So I'm arguing, as I am here, for taxpayer protection. On the one hand, we don't want money going to a frivolous lawsuit. On the other hand, if we lose the case, as I think we will, on the TMD, how is the taxpayers and the general fund protected? That's my sole issue here.
Would you expect to have something ready?
I don't know. I mean, they think that they have the votes on the council to disregard me, so we'll see how that. I don't think they're motivated to negotiate.
If you vetoed the first operating agreement, as did last night, would you say then that procedurally they really can't bring amendments to it on Monday?
Well, I suspect they could override the veto first on Monday. I mean, they could have that on the agenda, which I suspect they will.
Okay.
Thank you.